All right, everybody, welcome to the ABSP Masters Melee. This is our semifinal number 2. Had our first one on Monday between Brian Poe and Phil Robertshaw, and today we have arguably similarly a great matchup or better between reigning UK champion Harshan Lamabadusuriya and top expert and WESPA president Lukeman Owolabi, two people that are excellent players, great people. And if you're wondering what is the ABSP Masters Melee, maybe you weren't here on Monday to see that first match. This is an online only invitational event with 12 of the great players in the UK. Champion level players, top experts, grandmasters, an incredible field of 12 UK players. We split that 12 player field into 2 groups of 6, with the top 2 players in each group advancing into the bracket. And you can see Harshan and Lukeman were 2 of those 4 players. Again, we had our first match on Monday, so Brian Poe awaiting the winner of this match in the finals, and it's going to be a good one. And just as a quick bit of promo, this tournament is in support of our new Scrabble app at Scopely. If you are based in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, or the Philippines, you can get your hands on this app today. Anyone else in the rest of the world, a couple months more to wait till you get to try our new app. It's going to be very popular, I think, with the tournament community. Has a very classic, no frills, no bells and whistles look and feel. I have a puzzle that I designed by hand every single day that you get to play. Full post-game review capability. You can see all the highest scoring plays available in each game. You can find the download link pinned on our YouTube channel. And with that, there is no further need to delay. We've got our players standing by. Harshan and Lukeman getting set to play. Harshan waiting to take the first move as the group winner. And you can start anytime, Harshan. Best of luck to the both of you in this match. So, going to mute myself here on our call. And we are underway. Ooh, I've got to fix that. There we go. Fixed. So, hey, everybody in the chat. I think we're all set to go here. Harshan with the first move. Lukeman standing by. And we'll start his clock now. And I'll probably give Lukeman a verbal cue of when he should expect that match. He's probably wondering as Harshan thinks on this first move with a blank on his rack. Definitely something you like to see. The blank so valuable to players at this level of being able to find bingos in a hurry. But the F, B, and U combination, not really good for bingoing. Those are clunky tiles that don't mesh well together. So Harshan's going to have a look. He's going to think it over. But no bingos on offer for him here. So at some point, he will have to come to grips with that fact and come up with a non-bingo play. And yeah, it's been suggested in YouTube chat. Fub seems to do everything you want. Gets rid of those 3 clunky tiles. Moves forward with ENT blank, so you have a really, really good chance of coming away with a bingo. Hey, Lewis, nice to see you again. Another phenomenal UK player. So yeah, we shall see. Harshan having a think. I think he just wants to make 100% sure that he's not missing any bingos here. Playing deliberately, using your clock. And we're going to see Fub come down. And that seems like a very, very reasonable play for Harshan. So Lukeman is now going to get that game request in his tray. We can cut to his view here. We'll see if he's seeing that okay. At some point, he should get that game request coming through. If not, we will have to troubleshoot that. I am curious whether he's getting that. Let me cut to the both board view so I don't miss anything here. Oop, I got to get this correct with Harshan's screen. So Lukeman waiting patiently, but there we go. Okay, he's got the game request, and he's going to be able to get started here. Nice. That's what we're looking for. Not sure what happened at the top here. Hold on. Want to be able to get these scores wherever they are. Oh, where's the other score? On the other side? Okay, yeah, that's what's happening here, I think. So Lukeman playing Vape. As I'm troubleshooting here, I didn't run his clock, so I'm not going to run Harshan's for just a second either. But Vape seemed quite reasonable, getting rid of some of those clunky letters off the rack. I think he had a K as well. So, yeah, looks very, very solid from his perspective. Harshan, with the blank, should definitely be able to spot a bingo here, I would think. Let me get this. There we go. Okay. Almost set here for this view. Not gonna work. Not really. I guess it's okay. That's gonna have to do for now. So we'll go back to the main game board, and we'll start. I mean, I'll run a couple seconds off Lukeman's clock, even though it's not his turn. But we'll see what Harshan is up to. He's going to go ahead and play Hantles for 77. This is the best available play. Nicely done. So I'll pause. Actually, I'll go ahead and run Lukeman's clock a bit. So Harshan striking first. Very careful and deliberate to make sure that he is not missing anything better with that first blank. And, Lukeman's... I guess there's some delay with Lukeman getting those moves coming in on his end, which is interesting. So we'll just be careful. So you can see Lukeman seeing that if the word up is unobstructed, he will be able to play uplinked for 48. That looks fantastic. So he's having some delay. There we go. He's getting the news that Hantles is the play, so we'll go ahead and start his clock now. But yeah, so with these open letters, see if I can make this top part look a little better, in fact, while we're at it. Paste. And he is going to go ahead and play uplinked, which is definitely the best play for him. A really, really nice play, in fact. But as we go back to Harshan here, Harshan seeing quickly that an N, which is the letter that he wanted to stay open, now a second one comes into space, and he's going to be able to bingo here for 66. If he wants to play that across the board, he can play it for a similar score. But just a question of what is more defensive. He's going to go ahead and play Taniate here. 66 points for him. Hold on. I got to fix this. There we go. There, that's better. That should be a little bit better, I think. So there, Lukeman getting the bad news that Harshan has bingoed for a second time. I'm pretty sure we either did not see at all a missed bingo in the first series. I don't think we saw, at least we didn't see a turn where either player between Brian and Phil missed a bingo where there was one available. We might have seen one or two choices that were not considered, but you're not going to see very many bingo opportunities missed by these players. And Lukeman getting set to play Xenic for 44 seems very reasonable. Getting that X in a good spot, undoubling his eyes, makes a lot of sense. And back to Harshan, whose next rack is certainly not going to bingo here. We can know that for sure. No bingos with Chi Yowie on the rack. So Harshan will have to improvise and play something else. Looks like he's just considering playing Chi. Hard to find fault with that. Just dump it while you can for 26 points. There are any number of places where you could potentially play Yowie if you are willing to risk holding the Q in reserve, but may not want to do that. So we'll wait and see when Lukeman gets that play on the board. But there should be, wow, look at that. So there we go. There's the play for Lukeman. And he's got letters that actually allow him to potentially bingo here through the L of Hantles. Hey, Chris on YouTube. Not sure if anybody out there is watching along on Facebook either. We're trying that again, even though it didn't seem that too many people were finding their way to the stream on Facebook. But if you're watching within our Scrabble app community group page, definitely say hello. Love to meet some of you out there watching on Facebook, but we've got a nice base of players watching on YouTube on the ABSP channel. Very grateful for the partnership with ABSP, who helped us find these 12 amazing players that we're winnowing down to first 4, then 2, and then 1. Have some decent prizes on offer. So Lukeman seeing that if he had an open eye, he would be able to play Munified, but that does not do him any good here. I think it is all about this L. He has to think about this L. And I think if he does look at that L critically, he's likely to put together something like Unfilmed. And I think we are about to see that here. Yep. Nicely spotted. So as soon as he looked over at that L, he thought, oh, look at this. Look what I have. And sure enough, down it comes. So very nicely spotted. And back over to Harshan. And look at this. No real need to waste time here, potentially. I guess it is worth a moment's thought. But Harshan very confidently playing Jinx. I was going to say it could be worth a thought, given that his leave was so vowel heavy. You could play the I and keep the Y, but the Y is also kind of vowel-like. So there was no real need to do that. So Jinx is the play. We'll see in just a minute when Lukeman gets this. It's interesting. So on Monday, we had the issue of the screens flickering. Today, both screens look beautiful, crystal clear, but I guess Lukeman having a slight delay to latency to get Harshan's moves. You can see Jinx is going to pop up here at some point. There it goes. 63 points. Fantastic play. I do think that's better than playing your I there and keeping the Y. You just get so many more points, and you don't really improve the composition of your leave that much by doing so. So very quick, confident play, and it is now Lukeman's turn. And he has nice-looking tiles. He's still down. Harshan with 2 bingos, a Q play, and then a 63-point JX play. So showing no sign of slowing down. So let's see. Lukeman thinking hard. He's got kind of a good nucleus here. Oddly, the only thing that's really problematic are the 2 G's, which you could definitely see, right? Change the A to an O and you have boggles and things of that nature. Not that those plays actually fit anywhere on the board, but it's really the 2 G's that are the problem. The rest of the leave of A, B, E, L, S is very strong. The B, not normally that good of a bingo tile, but when you put it with L, E, A, it starts to get way, way stronger. So, yeah, definitely a solid nucleus here. Lukeman potentially getting set to just play Blag. It's going to be difficult for him to really use the G's without also using up some of the tiles that make his leave very good. So this seems like a reasonable choice. It's definitely one of his solid options. Another one could have been something like just Gleg right here. That would have left ALBS, which has some nice synergy to it, I think. And also scores similarly well. So you would get the 2 G's off the rack, which has some advantages, but Blag, scoring, balancing, seems pretty solid to me. As we head back to Harshan. Harshan already looking into the tile bag to just make sure that he's not missing anything critical. With players at this level, you're going to see that sort of behavior. You're going to see players looking into the tile bag a little earlier than you might expect because they're so good at picking up on the nuances. I have, as a reference for you all, right here, this is the point of view of the player on turn. This is what they should be looking at into the unseen pool. I'm going to try to stay up to date with that. I would say you've got that second blank still to come. I would be looking at this O situation as well. Literally no O's are on this board yet. So whatever I did, I would be playing my O here. I would not make a play that doesn't use an O if I could avoid it. So, for example, a play like Wiry, this seems like a pretty nice option. Wiry for 29 leaves an O. You could easily get hit with a draw of 1, 2, 3 O's after that, and very much regret keeping one on your rack. So I would fully expect Harshan to pick up on that and act accordingly. It would be my guess. So there's certainly other plays. Yeah, something like Yao. This is really... So another really nice thing about this play, there are other plays that Harshan could potentially make here, but another nuance of the pool is that there are all 4 S's still to come. So you don't want to make an S hook here if you can avoid it. And Yao, this is the word you make if you're injured or if you touched a hot stove or something like that. And that does not take an S, it's an exclamation. So another very nice little nuance by Harshan. Let's score, let's use my O, let's not make an S hook that Lukeman can use to potentially play a bingo on a board that is otherwise quite hostile to the S. So, nice idea there for sure. This is why Harshan, one of the preeminent top players in the world, reigning UK champion, twice in the finals of the World Scrabble Championship. And it's back over to Lukeman, who is in a bit of a tough spot here with 2 S's. That's good, but where do they go? Where do those S's play productively? That's the issue. There is not really an obvious spot. You know, I was saying it on Monday. If you're trying to evaluate the strength of your S as a tile, try to do one quick test. think if you had a 7-letter word ending in S, which is the most common form of, where you're going to bingo, right? 7-letter words ending in S, thanks to the way English inflects. That's going to be the most common way. And you try to look at the board and say, if I had a word like that, where would it fit? And the answer on this board, I'm not seeing it. So for that reason, you have to recalibrate your value of the S. Additionally, Lukeman has 2 S's. So he should be very willing to part with one if he can find a reason to do so. The only issue there is if Lukeman plays something, and Lewis suggested it in the chat, I think it looks like a great choice of just playing Leps right here. This scores quite well. However, that is going to be a neon sign to Harshan, who is already going to be loath to open an S-hook somewhere, but certainly when he sees Lukeman play LEPS in this spot right here, you're going to know a player at Lukeman's level is not playing an S for only a couple extra points unless he has another one in reserve. So Lukeman is going to much more aggressively, he didn't play that yet, but that was going to be a really interesting idea. Opening a spot for your S by just playing Ged, this is extremely difficult to deal with without an S of your own. Harshan will not have that easy of a way to address the S hook that would create. I definitely think there is a good argument to be made for a much more active opening play, even if it sacrifices a lot of points on the scoreboard, which Ged right here is going to score 18, whereas Leps here is going to score 34. That's a big sacrifice to set up, but the game situation, I think, definitely warrants that consideration. So that being said, 16's a lot, so Lukeman potentially is going to go ahead and play. If I go back to his side of the board, he's looking. He plays Leps for 34, a much more patient play, waiting for something good. Maybe he'll get something through the D. And quickly, Harshan moving to balance his rack and maybe dump a lot of this clunk off of the rack. And there isn't really a ton else, There's not much else going on. So blocking that E of uplinked makes a good deal of sense. And that is the play he's going to go with here. The I is not that scary as vowels next to this sort of square go. The only major threat of a consonant that you can put there is the F, and both Fs are gone. So this is a very not as dangerous of a spot as usual. But yeah, I do think potentially overrun, as some of you in the chat are pointing out, that may have been overlooked, as it looks like Lukeman is on turn now. Overrun, leaving just an I instead of renvoi, leaving RU. Could have just been a miss of that word. But yeah, perhaps there was a reason. Never want to assume that I know better than a player like Harshan. But it's going to be back over to Lukeman here. And it's just a tough board for sure to work with for him. And what to do here? That second blank is still lurking. You could go for... I mean, this is not a very inspiring play, but something like Swig covers up the triple, and at least it puts a good letter out in this square. If you're going to play in the lower part of the board, playing the G here at least allows you to hit ing words if you're able to draw that last N or blank or both. But he's going to play Wig, which is a perfectly reasonable choice as well to set up some hooks there. He's drawn Odorize. Odorized. Wow, odorized fits here to this D. So let's see where we go from here. But yeah, you can see Lukeman's got it lined up. This is the reason that overrun could have been better than renvoi here. Renvoi blocks fairly well, but if you're going to block this D of uplinked, the way to do that is to prevent ED words from going down, and this play does not do that. The R still accommodating the E as a parallel play. So we could see a pretty big blow coming down here. Harshan's very likely going to try to address the wig opening. And our new favorite word, ooh-woo, coming into play here. And UURRAI was Harshan's rack. I don't think Lukeman is going to wait very long. Go to the two-board view just to see when he gets that news. Ooh-woo was a very good play. Still giving Harshan a good chance, in fact. Keeping the R's with the blank, he can easily draw a bingo ending in RY with those letters, but drawing the third R was pretty rough. So this is going to get really close in a hurry. As soon as Lukeman sees ooh-woo come down here, it looks like it's about a 30-second latency for whatever reason on his end. That's definitely something that one of the things we're going to build for this app is a timed mode, a synchronous mode. So obviously solving that latency issue where you're getting your opponent's play instantly is going to be a big, feature. All right, there we go. Lukeman getting the news that ooh-woo for 12 just came down, and he is going to hit odorized for a huge, huge score. And that's going to change the complexion of this game in a hurry, especially because the O of odorized is not really hittable, right? Imagine if Lukeman had to play something here that left a good tile in the top row, like an S or a D or a G. Now, if I'm Harshan, I'm saying to myself, all right, yes, that's not ideal that I just got hit by an 80-point bingo, but I've got the blank and I have a good chance of maybe playing a response bingo in the upper corner. That O is not going to let that happen as much. So this game just became much trickier for Harshan. He has to try to, he's even down by 32, which is a big, big swing. So you have to ask yourself, is there any way to set up something on the bottom of the board? There's not that much space if you're Harshan to bingo here. It's going to be really tough to bingo to this O of odorized, as I said. And he's just going to be patient. Lira for 24, leaving RR blank. That's pretty reasonable. Just to keep in scoring distance. Maybe you hit a bingo to this Y, which could be difficult to block productively for Lukeman unless he has a really long play down into the Y, and even that would open up an 8s lane. So this is kind of a good play by default, and it gets him really close on the scoreboard here with not too many tiles to go. Suggestion of disgown on the play of wig. Yeah, that could have been good. That opens up a little more proactively, but it certainly worked out for Lukeman here. And I guess the question for Lukeman is, let me just make sure he's seeing, did he get Lira on the board yet? You see that? Find out. Yes, okay, we'll start him up. So the thing about this is, if he's looking into the pool, is he thinking, do I have to block this Y at all costs? Or is he thinking, I'm only up by 8 looking into a pool that has SZ blank in it? And does that mean he's going to potentially play Dona down into the lower corner? That seems like a solid play. Again, the A out in the lower right corner after a play like that. He has it set up. It plays right here for a very good score. It's not likely that this A is going to yield 8s back to Harshan. Seems reasonable, but it leaves this Y open. It continues to leave this open, and that's a little bit nerve-wracking for sure. So, all right, here he goes. He's getting set to play this. He's just praying to avoid a bingo or a high-scoring play one way or another. This seems like his best shot to me. I'm not sure that he has a blocking play, and that is the play that he's going to make. And back to Harshan. Ooh, nice draw. Lukeman drawing CH here to work with. That's going to help him a lot to keep scoring pressure up in light of the fact that Harshan has the Z. Not even sure where Harshan is going to be able to use that Z super productively here. But from his perspective, there's 7 tiles in the bag. You still have this Y, but what are you even going to do to open more space at the bottom of the board with only 1 vowel as well? It's going to be tough. Very tough. This is a tricky position. Harshan's not down by so much. It feels like he should be able to be patient if need be, because if he gets a bingo down, it's very likely at this score that the bingo is going to vault him ahead. So he doesn't have to worry so much right now about maxing out on his score. He can definitely think a little bit about, can I do something good for the board that gives me more options for bingoing? Very interesting. Drawing an E would get, as seeing in YouTube chat, this is a great suggestion. Drawing an E would give Harshan a very nice Z play here. That could be enough points on this board, in fact. But you have to keep SZ. That means you need to play something with OGRR. I mean, of course, you can always burn the blank on whatever it is that you want to play right now, but that leaves you with so little ammunition going into next turn that I think that's not going to work out that well for him. So, yeah, we'll see. Suggestion of maybe orgs. Interesting. So, orgs here, you keep your Z, you set it up. And that's nice. It scores decently well. I don't know, though. I feel like after a play like that, Lukeman is just playing in this area every time. At least there are no easy hooks to org. There's no hooks at all, really. But, yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting idea. So Harshan's going to think. He's going to have a good think about this. Another suggestion is, in a vacuum, you could just play Grosh here. The reason that you would play this is almost to bait Lukeman into playing here. The reason you're playing this, leaving R blank, is you're drawing into a lot of bingos ending in RY. Maybe you get super lucky and draw into something ending in an A of Dona. But most of all, the O of Grosh is very difficult to play through without giving an 8s lane that is very flexible. So there's a lot of upside if Lukeman plays there. It's rarely going to be enough to put him out of reach of an 8-letter bingo. Also, it would empty the bag. That's another thing. So Harshan going to play Zos for 34. He's going to be patient. This play tying the game. Tying the game. All right, Lukeman's got it on his board there. So he's going to hope that with that blank, he'll be able to sort of see it through some way or another. There's no D available for the hook there. That's not really that relevant, though. So this is going to be a tight one. Harshan with clunky tiles on the blank. Lukeman with very, very flexible scoring tiles, but no blank. Very intriguing. I'm not sure. I definitely think Lukeman should have the edge here. His tiles are just so synergistic, and the blank is normally so good for playing bingos, but on this board, there's not a lot of options. As time goes by, I'm kind of liking Grosh more and more. It looks insane at first glance, but with 7 tiles in the bag, Lukeman literally cannot play to this triple without emptying the bag and opening a huge 8s lane. And you get your bingos to the Y holding an R and a blank fairly often too. I'm not even sure how you respond to that, that productively. So it looks really weird, and there are a lot of interesting options that have been floated here as Lukeman's thinking about the tracking there. From his perspective, he definitely, if you're Lukeman here, you have to not fixate super much on your really, really good bingo tiles because the board is not really in support of that. If I'm Lukeman, I'm thinking about maxing out my score however I can do that. Zos, the nice thing about Zos, even though it evened the score, it blocks this Y of Jinx, and now you really do not have to worry about bingos anywhere. Yeah, every so often, do you get hit with something ending in A? Maybe. Do you even, looking at these tiles? Maybe not, right? It's going to be tough to even see anything that plays down there. Let me make sure I'm on the right. Okay, so look at this. He may just be about to play it safe, just playing his H down in the corner. It's kind of crazy. The play that was pointed out of Himes here, is this like the best he can do in terms of like scoring points here? It's surprising. With these letters, you would definitely expect to be able to have a plethora of high 20s, 30-point plays. Really nice letters to score with, but the board is terrible. Lukeman considering just playing Ream for 18. That's reasonable. It does leave him with AA on his rack. I think it's okay to spend the S here if you think about it. So, yeah. There we go. So this is a very, very solid play. This scores what you're looking for here on this extremely tough board. 31 points. It's going to be tough to overcome for Harshan, but maybe there's a way. I don't know. This is going to make it so difficult also because it's going to leave 1 tile in the bag. So 31 pointer there. Very nicely spotted. So back over to Harshan with that blank and a board that is just brutal to do much. So he's going to look. What are you even doing here with 1 in the bag and needing to bingo? I guess, yeah, you're probably trying to fish for something to the A. The problem is, if you don't make a second spot, Lukeman will be able to see, in a lot of cases, that you're going for a bingo to the A. So you got to find some kind of fish that creates a second option. Where do you even play to create a second bingo lane here and leave tiles in the bag. Whoop, we got Harshan knocked his phone. It's okay. He's got it back. Brutal. Not sure I'm seeing what the heck he should do here. Oh, I should start his clock. Hey, Phil. Nice to have you with us. Phil, one of our contestants on Monday, putting forth a great series of games. Really, really fun games. Hi, Natalie. So many of our competitors in this event here watching. Thank you very much. And the winner of this match is going to face Brian Poe in the finals. Brian with a great performance as well in the match on Monday. But things are looking pretty good for Lukeman. Some of you in the YouTube chat pointing out that if Lukeman thinks about the A hook here, he'll be able to play something overlapping such as MOA or MAA in this spot. That's going to be a really, shockingly high scoring on this super, super tight board. So yeah, this has been an extremely well-played game by both players. A couple little nuances here or there that you might change from one player to the other. It feels like the play that's had the biggest reverberation on the game has probably been this play of Renvoi versus Overrun in the same spot. That would have prevented Odorize. It would have blocked the D much more conclusively, and that would have changed the game quite a bit. But you can't, it's hard to butterfly effect, analyze in that way too much, because it is going to be a totally different game. But, this is brutal. Only one tile in the bag. Lewis in chat saying you can't open another line with a single tile, and I agree. I don't see how you're doing that. You really need two. You need to be playing two tiles to pull that off, right? So there's plenty of space on the bottom of the board, but how do you open it with one tile? You can't. And there's a little space up here too, but you can't open that either. If like ROU was a word, then that would open up something, right? Now you could open up trow at the top of the board, but that isn't a word. So things looking very good for Lukeman in the first game. Seemed like Harshan was all over him with the early bingos, but then, yeah, the R's. He drew 2 R's and then a third, along with 2 U's. Had to play Uwu. Yeah, rough. So Harshan continuing to look into the unseen tiles, try to figure out any pattern, any clue of something that he could take advantage of. But this just seems like a really rough position to be in. Hey, Eric. Eric Smith Egg. A wonderful name. Nice to see you, Eric. So we'll see. I honestly have no idea what Harshan is supposed to do here to try to get a win out of this. Is there some outplay? Is there can he fish for an outplay ending in LO? Is that possible? How many words ending in LO even are there? I'm just trying to see. Sub-anagram match on my Ulu here. TTROLO blank blank. No. Yeah, as I didn't think so. Yeah, 1 tiles. That could be fixed at some point. 1 tiles remaining. But yeah, this is sometimes in Scrabble you try to make the best play every turn, but there are plenty of turns where there simply is not going to be a play that is satisfying to make. Hey Joel, Brian Poe plus a blank. I see 2 of them. That's nice. I haven't found the third yet. That is definitely a good quiz. I'm sure Brian knows the answer to that one. All right. Oh, not three? Okay, there we go. So I see the two solutions then. That's nice. Okay. I feel better. I saw the two solutions quickly and I was like, "Oh, dang. There's a third one." Which I can't see. Feeling sweet vindication from that. So, yeah, I just don't know what I'm going for here. I just feel like, um, probably I'm trying to fish for some very specific thing ending in the A of donut and hope that Lukeman just does not see it or think about blocking it. That is a very uninspiring plan, to be sure, but that's where I'm at right now. Um, so yeah. Anybody else has big ideas for something that Harshan could do that would actually give him a realistic chance at winning this game? Let your let your wisdom be heard, because it's definitely a bit of a stumper. Botarga, that's nice. That is a nice idea. Um, Annoyingly for Harshan, the T is in the bag. But if the A was in the bag, fishing off an R and going for Botarga, yeah, that's, you know what? That looks about as good as I can imagine there being here. Then the question becomes, where do you fish your R? Grr. Okay, I guess you have this, right? You could play that. Okay, so you could play Grr. I was about to say, is there even anywhere to play just an R by itself? And there might not be. But there is at least one place and maybe another one I'm missing. So you could do that. So all right. Yeah. Harshan deciding to just make a fish, not a fish, I should say, but a setup, setting up his blank, trying to play tout, setting up stout. And we will make sure that, there we go. There's Lukeman's play. So he can now know if he takes a look at the tile bag. And again, just want to emphasize, oh, nice. He sees Axenic. Very nice. No need to wait too long. This scores really, really well. Putting him up by a very solid number. Yeah, that was the right endgame play for him. Go back to Harshan here, see what he comes up with. And that T is going to really constrain his options here. Not sure what the correct endgame is. Oh, is Harshan a deliberate player? Even playing online, Harshan uses up all his time. Well, it is there to use. He's going. I mean, I feel like I could have seen myself. I am a slow player as well, in general. And I would have used up all my time on that one just because you're just trying to come up with some kind of realistic plan in a really tough spot where the plan is going to potentially be really tough to come up with. So I would have used up my time there. Moa following up with Erica, and you can see Lukeman has those tiles lined up, Erica to this A. So does that mean Harshan has to block this A and then guarantee himself another turn? Either way, this is definitely Lukeman's game, so there's no, I'll be ready on the clock here. Make absolutely sure. I don't think so. I am also running an overtime. Oh, look at that. That's a nice play. So Harshan correctly reasoning that Erica needs to be blocked for Lukeman. and makes a solid play that does that and guarantees him another turn. So nice idea. Even in losing effort, Harshan making a solid play, and it's going to be back to Lukeman as soon as the move comes in. And the first game will go to Lukeman Owolabi. So this is a best of 5 match between these two great players. We're going to dive right into game 2 with Lukeman going first after this game completes. There we go. He got the news that his outplay was blocked, and he'll have to come up with something else that's not an out, but he is up by plenty here. No threat. Lukeman's going to win this first game, and while I'm thinking about it, I'll give him a little star. I have the little star system. Lukeman playing ace. That looks like another very solid play for him. And Harshan need waste no time here, playing tree for 9. So there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and unmute myself on the Zoom call just to say very nicely played game 1 between the two of you. And there's no great need to delay as we can launch right into round 2, Lukeman, with you going first, hitting that rematch button, and then Harshan waiting for the response in the home lobby. So you are all set to start the next game whenever you're ready, Lukeman. All right. So with that, we'll just wait. Got to make sure I give Lukeman his star. There we go. So a nice win. Lukeman up 1-0 in the early going here. Oh, I see. He hadn't gotten the move yet. Very good. Okay, so now he's gotten it. So we will start up this new game. Lukeman going first. And off we go. So, fresh off of a nice win in the first game, Lukeman trying to set the tone for game 2. Not the best opening rack, but at least you're going to be able to play something that either turns a few tiles, like Buller, or leaves a good leave like Bull, which it looks like he's going to go ahead and play Bull for 12. We'll wait for Harshan to get the game request. There it comes. Why it does that with the scores not being in the same place every time. I'll fix that real quick. Bull for 12. Something to look out for with that is the A hook. The A hook on Bull is maybe not one that you would expect. Of course, Bully, Harshan with a Y on his rack, seems like playing something with Bully is going to be on his mind here for sure. But yeah, Bull does give back the A hook for Bulla as well, so that could have been a point in favor of playing more tiles potentially there if you're Lukeman, if you want to just play Buller, if you know it. But yeah, he's going to be... So I guess the real question is, if you're Harshan, Bully is definitely the way to get points here. It's going to be hard to score that well unless you use that hook. Maybe you can also play the Y here. So you've got a couple options for playing this. But my question is, how do you use the Y and the K, but not the S, right? I would love to make a 4-tile play using the K and the Y and keep the S in reserve for next turn. But it doesn't necessarily seem like that's possible. I think Dusky or Tusky are potentially the plays that you may have to make here, which is okay. It's the early going. You can definitely, live with that. But for Lukeman, he already has Aluron. If I could spell it right. Alueron. Rone. Getting set to play through this U. But if Harshan plays Dusky, he'll even have another spot to play 8-letter bingos through the D. So we'll potentially be seeing a bingo for Lukeman for sure, almost no matter what Harshan plays. I should have started his clock by now. So yeah, tricky situation. Not sure which of those plays I prefer. Kins, another play being shouted out. That's also solid. Leaves UT. I think Dusky leaving NT makes me feel like I'm happier to get the U off. Harshan going to go ahead and keep that S potentially with Duty for 26. This seems like just about the right difference in score to justify keeping the S over Dusky. Of course, the S is also not that good. On the board after Duty is played, it's changed too. Why it's in a slightly different spot every time. That's kind of weird. So yeah, that's a tricky one. Duty versus Dusky versus Tusky or whatever else. I mean, Dusky is clearly better than Tusky, but there were a lot of close options there. As soon as Lukeman gets the good news that his U is open and he's going to get a new tile to play through, Harshan definitely hoping that some way or another an I would find its way open on this board so that he could play Shocking. That's not going to happen, and Lukeman quickly moving to play Reloaned, and he's going to strike first here. That being said, this opens a triple. Nice tiles for Harshan in reserve as well. So, Reloaned for 68 comes down for Lukeman, and Harshan with an open triple, but oh man, so many nice tiles here. CHK, and he's so close to so many things through this A. But maybe there isn't anything that satisfying. That would be really frustrating if that were true. Set this up a little better in the windows. So, oops. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. So, another kind of nice draw, too, for Lukeman. He has the nucleus of more good tiles. INGS. And if this spot stays open, Lukeman will be able to just maybe play Fun, leaving Wings, which is actually a solid leave, especially if he's able to draw a vowel. But if Harshan does not have a good play to this A, are we looking at something like Huck here for Harshan, blocking the spot that Lukeman's probably wanting to play? He has FN meaningfully set aside on his rack right here, and so does Harshan. Harshan with HCK. It's definitely agonizing. I feel like I would be staring at this spot thinking, how the heck do I not have something there? But it seems like the best option down to this A is just Conga. Conga. Oh, I gotta update this. Conga for 30, leaving HKS. That's not that synergistic of a leave, whereas Huck leaves NG and an S. No I's on the board. You can easily draw an I. And yeah. Bully side. Oh man. Are there any other, are you guys in chat looking at the other bully extensions? I guess bullyings is valid as well. I didn't realize that. That is a big difference, of course. At some point, it is a goal to have a mode. Well, first of all, there is going to be a timed mode that doesn't require me to be operating a timer here the way I am in the jankest way possible. You guys can't see what I have set up to operate this timer, but I assure you it is not a scalable solution. But what is scalable is there is going to be a synchronous mode in this game that's going to allow you to play timed games. And when that mode is released, I do think we're going to revisit having challenges be possible. So that would be fun. That would definitely be fun. So Harshan having a good think here. He's probably feeling very similarly of how the heck is there nothing better through the A of reloaned. But there's just not. So yeah, we'll see what he elects to do. System would be easier with an observed game view. Absolutely. Yes. It is not the easiest to be able to get these views from the players, and I really appreciate everybody I appreciate Harshan, Lukeman, Brian, Phil, everybody who has been very patient with the required setup to get these matches going. But yeah, Bully Rags, very nice. There's a lot of stuff. Oh, looks like Harshan is maybe coming back around to playing Conga, that is a reasonable choice versus Huck. Huck probably bingos more, but this prevents those scoring plays that you would hate to see come down. Something with a high scoring letter in this spot would be so annoying to see that come down after playing Huck. So I think Harshan has spotted the options that are the most relevant here. At this deficit, I would probably try to optimize for getting a bingo as quickly as possible, even if it meant leaving that triple untouched. After all, if you're, in Harshan's shoes, you've got good scoring tiles and you can't really play productively to the A. Maybe Lukeman will have a very similar rack. In fact, he has a very similar rack to that where he has some high scoring tiles and it's not going to be that easy for him to play to the A of reloaned. So he's come back now to hung in the same spot as Huck. Potentially, reasoning, I should say, that without the I already in hand, keeping the N and the G is not advisable. Whereas leaving the CK combination, maybe that gives you better chances of hitting this A with something nice in the future. So he's definitely... This is very relatable to me. Feeling like these little subtle differences between these moves could really go a long way to deciding the fate of this game. And he's going to go ahead and play Conga and deny Lukeman the opportunity to play in that spot himself. And he promptly draws ZQ on his rack there. So Lukeman getting that move quickly, thankfully. And now the beauty of the Void Challenge system is, he's going to go ahead and quickly play Fung. Very little delay. Playing Fung, leaving the I hook. Potentially, that could be about as good of a play as Bullying's, given how often it's going to bingo. But I wonder, would it have been potentially better to keep the G off of that? Would you do better keeping the G off to pair with your IN in the leave there? Even though playing Fungi gives you a lot more points, just playing Fun leaves Wings as a leave, which I feel like is maybe deceptively good for bingos. So, a couple different ways you could go. Just playing Bullying. That would be funny. Would not work out very well in this situation, of course, with Harshan having just drawn high scoring tiles. He kept an S after conga. So this is a tough one too. You've got these super high point tiles. What do you even do about this? Now, oh, I should say I put in the play wrong. Lukeman played fung, not fungi. Okay, that's better. Okay, I think I have this correct now. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, what do you do here? So play that jumps out for scoring is just this, right? This scores very well. However, at this score, it would be very tempting to just play quiz. Just get that cue off, right? It doesn't score well. Only scores 22 points. It feels like a concession. It feels like a concession to play your Z and Q for a face value score. But getting that Q off now while you can is nice. Maybe it's okay because you have fungi waiting. So we'll see. So let's wait to see when Lukeman gets that news that Zoe is the play. And despite, we're lamenting that Harshan has had some really tough positions in the early going, but look at the score. It's 109 to 91. It's not that far out of reach. Something that just came into my mind. I'm not sure if I got the point across, but fungi, of course, is an important hook, but I'm really curious to see. We have one of the two C's on the board. If another player draws the other C, we could easily see some cool plays with fungi setting up fungic. That would be really interesting. So Lukeman getting set to play walks for 33, wasting no time whatsoever. Leaving a very, very good leave in INTS. That is going to become a bingo a ton of the time. And in fact, in this situation, he will have Einstein through the end of conga. He just has to think to play something in that spot, which is pretty crazy. So unless Harshan finds a block of that spot, Lukeman could be getting set to bingo for a ton in a hurry. And very quickly comes Chi for Harshan. That seems almost forced. There's no great way around it. Uh-oh. What happened here? Lose Harshan's board for a second. Let me see if I can get it back real quick before we give a quick break. Ooh, okay. So 90s. So this is just too quick for Lukeman, leaving a few points on the board. The anagram of this word, Einstein, would have fit for many, many more points in that spot. 19 points without opening a triple. So still trying to refresh the board here. Could have been on my end. Let's just go back here and watch it from Lukeman's perspective for a minute while we wait to see if the board comes back. And of course I can fix it potentially. So it is Harshan's turn here. You guys are saying he had sea kale on his rack, that would fit. If he knows that word, which I have every expectation that he does, we could be seeing sea kale be played here. There it is. At some point in the next turn or two, I'm going to do a quick pause and we'll get Harshan's board back. But that's a big blow for Harshan to get back in this game a little bit. Lukeman wasting no time to play Jops. That looks like a very solid play. Now we certainly have no inkling of what Harshan has. So I'm going to go ahead and... Well, he doesn't... I'm loath to interrupt his flow, but at least the timer isn't necessarily going while I do that. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut us to a quick break and work with Harshan to get his board back. Or do I just let him play? This is a good test case. I think I'm going to do that break. 1 second, everybody. Okay. I think we are set. Let me make sure everything is audible. We got Harshan's board back. We got C-Kale. It's Harshan's turn. He's just got hit with Jops. But after C-Kale, he is back in the game. And thank you, everybody, for standing by as we get set here to continue. So, Harshan having a look into the bag, as one does. Trying to imagine where he can play safely. He might be trying to think of playing something overlapping here. Can I get away with playing this, right? I think the biggest issue with something like this would be the number of unseen O's. And there's too many of them, I think, to feel that comfortable with this play. But maybe if you could specify how many tiles go in front of OI. H, P, not that many. M, I guess it's probably too risky. That's a lot of stuff that your opponent can have. So I would say not playing up there is warranted, especially when Harshan has a pretty reasonable play like this that he could do, or what he's about to do. So all these plays, very reasonable. This one might make more sense at a deficit too, just to create more of a line. So he's going to go ahead and play Obi and back over to Lukeman. Let's just see when he gets that information that the play has come through. And oh my gosh, Harshan left IERT and drew AAA. Yikes, that is not ideal, to say the least. Game is still pretty close. There. Okay, so Lukeman, there we go. He's got that. I feel like Lukeman has made an all-out rush to try to, as soon as he saw that Harshan was spending a lot of time on some of these moves, he's made an all-out rush to try and push him on the clock as much as possible. So Vitro for 27, immediately coming back down. Divot as well could have been interesting here. Both plays leaving the U in reserve, so that could be something that was unappealing after either of them, but Divot would have gotten 8 points. So, but I think Lukeman is really, that's actually a pretty good, even though Harshan drew, oh man, okay. So a tale of two turns here. So really, really nice play by Harshan to play Aya, but now he's drawn a bingo that allows him to make the blank a C. He can now play Cataran, which is huge. No matter what Lukeman does in the other spot on the board, oh, he hasn't seen the move yet. No matter what he does in this area, which he's surely going to try to address, Harshan is going to bingo next turn, which is crazy. But that being said, he has to see the Fungic hook and he has to see Cataran on his rack. So there are a couple things that have to happen that allow, and Lukeman, no time wasted just playing Oi for 35. Seems very reasonable. But Harshan's going to hit back here, and the other blank is lurking too. So there could be a huge comeback in the making here. So there we go. Oh, look at this. Harshan playing Catarans at the top of the board. That's also reasonable. It's going to score similarly. It actually scores identically. They both score 80. I wonder, though, if you expect to still be at a deficit, I do wonder which play you might prefer. Catarans here certainly keeps the board way more open. You preserve the C at the top of the board as a line, and then you get all kinds of other stuff coming across. So it's an interesting question. I think they both score 80, so you're not that concerned there. I'm not sure. I might prefer the long-term board openness of playing with Fungic ever so slightly, but they're both 80 points. I don't feel really strongly about that. Let me know in the chat what you all think about the answer to that question, because I'm definitely not confident in that one. I think there are reasonable arguments to be made for both. Because the thing is, if you play Catarans, there is still a C lurking potentially, right? You could draw the other C. Maybe you want to preserve that C as long as possible if you think you have an edge to see the Fungic hook over your opponent, and you can get 80 points. You can get 80 points in one of two spots, one of which tips your hand about Fungic, the other of which leaves it in reserve as a potential trap to spring in the future. Maybe that's a human element. Another point in chat, maybe worried after just playing Oi. That's a pretty dangerous looking play. So maybe after that, you don't want to open the board so much with all those good tiles to end in. So there are a couple interesting reasons, practical reasons, why you might prefer playing Catarans up high, especially when it is the same number of points. But we got ourselves a game all of a sudden. It was looking very grim for Harshan. Very grim indeed after the early going. But yeah. What happened here? Oh, Harshan's just looking at tracking, I think. Yeah, okay. I was going to say, did we lose him again? But no. So it's going to be an interesting game. We were very blessed on Monday to have basically entirely close games. Lukeman getting set to play Stroud up high. This makes a ton of sense. That's a really good play. There were plays that he could have made, shorter plays, leaving more strongly. But this draws much harder for the second blank. And Harshan wasting little time here. Vids leaving the blank. And I didn't even get a chance to do anything with that. But yeah, 43. This game is super close. You cash in your S. The S isn't particularly good, especially after you burn it to play here. Ironically, the S gets way worse. And you just score so many points by playing there that you almost have to. So if you were to somehow find a way to score anything remotely as much as that somewhere else, then maybe it's worth making that play, keeping the S, and maybe drawing it to a bingo like that. But I think that's entirely defensible. The game is way too close. You keep a good scoring tile. And yeah, very reasonable play to me. Seems like the best play. So back to Lukeman. This is an uncomfortable set of tiles for him. He went for it with Stroud, trying to draw another S and another blank. And he drew neither. Harshan had the S and blank already on his rack, spent the S, kept the blank, and is in pretty good shape here. I also wonder, the C is still going to be a big tile to draw, because without it, it's hard to use a triple here, and with it, you've got a free crack at this spot, right? So Lukeman is thinking about, I wonder if he's thinking about Bully Rag and how much he would have wished to have an S here. You guys pointed that out in the chat. Bully Rag would be so fun. And I wonder, could we yet see a Bully extension? That would be crazy. Not sure yet. So this is tough. I mean, unfortunately for Lukeman, the standard plays here are just simple rack balancing plays through the V. These don't feel at all inspiring. They don't feel like they put you up enough. But what else is logical to do if you're in his shoes here? I don't think there's that many options for him. And at least by doing that, you continue to try to draw towards some of the good tiles that you hope to draw. Take a little bit of a lead. I don't know. Play reg near walks. Yeah. Oh, okay. Vega is the play. Let's see if Harshan gets it. Yes, he does. So this play, leaving EIRR. Not sure if undoubling the R's at a cost of keeping the G, could that have been better? It's hard to say. Still no C. The C is still lurking. I feel like it is an important tile for both players. Wow. Lukeman has airdrome. Oh my god. That is incredible. Who saw that coming? Vega leaving the two R's, drawing into airdrome, and he has armoried lineup there. And I think if he goes to put armoried on the board, which he may yet, and he realizes that's not a word, he'll probably say, wait a second, isn't there something in there? And he'll find airdrome. But that is crazy. Oh, here it is. Look at those letters. So, even now, there is still a pathway for Harshan. He can make a high-scoring play here. Obviously, a couple folks have pointed out, the pool is not great, and it's a little consonant heavy. So an interesting play for Harshan could be to play wine right here. That scores deceptively many points, 32 points, and it would leave HT blank. If Harshan draws the C after that play, he basically just needs to draw like the C and two vowels, right? Maybe he needs to avoid maybe like MP or something like that. If that happens here, he could easily bingo out after airdrome and just win the game with a fungic play. So we're going to find out in a hurry if that's what happens, right? So could that happen here? Could we see Harshan find a really nice scoring play up here, score well enough, or even not? He doesn't even need to find that play. He could find any number of plays that get him close enough to Lukeman on the scoreboard that airdrome will be met with a fungic bingo and out. Could easily happen. Could easily happen. So, yeah, we'll see. So, the C's in the bag. Oh boy, EFMP. That is going to be bad news for sure. However, keep in mind too, airdrome sets up a place where maybe you draw into fintech, right? Fintech. Could that happen? You're really close to it right now. If you draw something like, if you play wet, right? Let's say you play wet right here, and you draw, I guess you would need to not play your T if you're going to get fintech. IN blank, and if you draw like CEF, M, no, maybe not. Maybe you can't draw that. You might have to play Hue or something to get that play. Or I don't know. I'm confused. But I do feel like it's not impossible after Airdrome that Bingos here will also win. So this is a crazy situation. Harshan just playing ew. Wow, surprising. So the reason that's surprising is that he definitely has many more points on offer, but this play is going to bingo a lot. And I'm pretty sure that Harshan is basically just thinking, all I got to do is have a bingo, and I'm going to bingo out even after. And that is, look at that. Lukeman with all those high point tiles. I'm pretty sure. Hold on. Let me just get this all squared away. Airdrome for 89 to go up by 101. But with all those high point tiles, it's just going to require any old bingo for Harshan here. And he's going to win this game. Yeah, they do win because of so many tiles in the bag, and they're all high pointers. So after this, Harshan's going to bingo for 76. This is his highest scoring bingo spot right here. And he's going to get 3, 6, 10, 11, 14, 28 points. So he's bingoing for 76, getting 28, which gives him 104. So he is going to clear just barely the 101 point deficit. So he's going to be doing the math on this. But all Harshan needs to do is just find one of many 70-ish point plays, and he is going to squeak out an incredible win here. And I got to say, the play of ew is a pretty ballsy one, but the computer engine really likes it. Computer engine loves it. I would have gone for points there. And maybe it is still correct to go for points, but computer engine definitely does not mind that choice by Harshan. It does like a few other plays similarly well. But yeah. So Harshan can do some math, and he is going to snag this game almost. I mean, there's no way around it. Can't play a phony on here. And he just has to find any number of words that he's probably already identified each and every one. And I'm pretty sure on his little notepad there, he's totally within his right to do some calculation to figure that out. And he's going to win this game. I don't think Lukeman cannot play Airdrome there either, can he? What the heck is he supposed to do? Even knowing full well, is he supposed to pass up his bingo in some way, shape, or form? Just knowing that you auto lose to any bingo? I don't think so. I think he has to play Airdrome. You just win every time your opponent doesn't have a bingo. So that's got to be it. Yeah. So I think both players playing this back half of the game really well. I am extremely intrigued to find out. Oh, hold on. There we go. So Harshan is getting set to play Therein for 76. I thought he was going to play Thielen, but I think that scores fewer by putting the blank in the wrong spot. Harshan doing one last check of the bag just to make absolutely sure. Yeah. What else exactly, Noah? What else are you supposed to do? He just played ew for no points. Is it possible, if you infer the blank, that Lukeman could hold up on playing the bingo and try to counter bingo? Because in this game, whoever goes out, whoever bingos last is likely to be the winner and collecting all this clunk, right? But maybe Lukeman isn't in a position where he can defer. So, really interesting. Don't think either of the players meaningfully misstepped towards the end here intrigued by some of certainly the earlier decisions. Lukeman definitely is going to wish that he had the 19 points back, right? 19 points back for playing Einstein over 90s. That those 19 points are going to loom large. So let's check it out. Harshan, look at the score change here. You can see, oh man, Harshan winning by 3. An absolutely insane game to finish that one out. So that was crazy. I'm going to go ahead and unmute myself on the Zoom. That was insane. Amazing game, both of you there to even the series at 1. I think we should take a 3 to 5 minute break if you guys want to get up, use the restroom, get a water, whatever it is you like.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Great, really great game so far. So I'm going to take a break too of just a few minutes, and we'll be back with rounds 3 and 4 at a minimum, and maybe 5 in our ABSP Masters Melee. All right, see you guys in a few minutes. Okay, everybody, we are back from break. A thrilling game 2 in the books, and we are ready for game 3. And Harshan is going to have the first move there, and feel free to get started with that anytime, Harshan. And I'm going to mute myself on the call here now. So yeah, you can hear, you can not hear, but you can see Lukeman dejected a little bit after the way that game concluded. A really rough 3-point loss for him. But that's still 1-1, still plenty of time here. And Harshan with the first move, and he's going to have to slow down, of course, with this cue on the rack. No great play to make with it. You can just play chin, which is what he's thinking of doing. And that seems entirely reasonable for him. But yeah, that is tough. But yeah, really exciting game. And we're going to see, oh, interesting. Harshan electing to exchange. That is a reasonable option here, leaving the really nice gain leave. So that definitely makes sense for sure. Any of your other plays, if you play your Q there, QIN, leaving AFGV, that is really, really rough as a leave. You could play Fave, FAV, but that hooks with a ton of stuff and leaves your Q. So I definitely think exchanging, I hadn't thought of it. I thought he was just going to play chin quickly, but I think that's why Harshan, is he thought for another second and made an even better play than that, with a really good chance of getting the first bingo of the game. So I'm so curious with this latency thing for Lukeman. But at some point, I don't know whether he has to like put his finger on the screen or what, but he's gonna resign his game against the bot, and hopefully he'll get that game request coming in. I'm so curious, why is it going so slow? But that'll be something for me to mention to our team. So at some point, we will find out what Lukeman's going to get as his first rack in game 3. He's going to have the first word of the game after Harshan exchanging. Go back to our board, and we'll try to, maybe he'll have to restart. Not sure. It is so curious why that's not happening for him. This is like insane. Any minute now. So strange. I'll just go ahead and see if like doing anything else in the app. Hey Lukeman, if you can just go into like any other menu of the game and like perform an action and then come back to the home screen. Just like look at any. It's so strange why that game's not coming through. There we go. Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's hope that doesn't persist. All right. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's like the exchange is what it did. So, in any case, we got ourselves a game now at last. And Lukeman would have hoped to get maybe an R for something like Wiseacre. Weiss, this is a obscure 4-letter word, a nice, helpful word to know with the C and the W together. Not very, those letters don't work all that well together. So, nice to know that word. Doesn't take any hooks at the end. Of course, it takes the T as a front hook. And I'm trying to get the scores back as well. And I think they are here. Yes. Get these scores in a better spot. There we go. That should do. Okay, so start up for Harshan. That seemed like a very, very standard play for Lukeman. And now, what to do for Harshan? Jaxi. This definitely, a couple of you in chat pointed this word out already. And also that he has Jinx again, a word that he played for 63 points in game 1. But yeah, this seems very reasonable. Get the J and the X off the rack at once. Definitely. Oh, I think, and Harshan may now have, I think deny is a synonym of deny. I think he can put that and try playing that through the eye of Weiss if it stays open. So, just see, oh, we got to fix this too. For some reason. There we go. Should be better, hopefully. So yeah, this is utterly bizarre. Why is it going so slow? But we'll see. It was going well for the first couple games, at least not consistently super, super slow, but there we go. Okay. Can deal with a little bit of a delay. Okay. So, Jaxi on the board. Many more vowels than consonants for Lukeman. He's got a tough decision on his hands. It is possible that a play like SAJOU could come down just to achieve a little bit better rack balance. That is an obscure word, but definitely one I expect Lukeman to know. All of those high point 4- and 5-letter words, these players are going to know those pretty cold. That would, amazingly, that would block denying through the eye. Another play that you could see being made here would just be OO. That's kind of weird to have an O and not play something alongside the J. But yeah, there are a couple of reasonable plays here that you could see block Harshan's bingo that he has lined up, ready to go down through this I. That being said, another play, Eric in chat saying, Jure. This is definitely a reasonable choice as well, and that leaves everything open. So Jure is like the intermediate play between just playing OO here. I actually can do these rectangles too. So you can play OO here, Saju here. Look at those beautiful rectangles. I forgot that I can do that. So we'll see. Jaxi, another word meaning your butt, apparently. Sitting on your Jaxi. I'm not sure. Is that a word that people use in modern society anywhere in the world? Or is that purely archaic? I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe some of you out there do. So here we go. Oh. The play Lukeman putting on the board. This would be a tough break, and that is going to be the play. It's one of the 3 plays that are all quite reasonable from his perspective. And it is definitely going to force Harshan into a much more difficult choice here. So, timely block. Very timely. And that being said, Harshan still has any number of solid options. It looks like Gayan is on his rack. He's getting set to maybe play that right here. That seems reasonable. He has other plays that score more but open the board a little bit more aggressively, such as Janny. I feel like Janny here off of this J, it leaves DG, which is not great, but it scores 40 points. Harshan also thinking about playing Dene here. So a lot of very similar options for him that score nicely. Some of them leave a little better than others. He has a lot to sift through here. But Lukeman has Erasure on his rack. So that feels quite likely to go down. Janny, this seems pretty solid. That's going to be the play that Harshan makes. And we're just going to have to see when Lukeman gets this move, hopefully in a nice, timely manner, not too much delay. Does he have... Yeah, I mean, the scary thing is after Janny hits Lukeman's board here, the only bingo he has available is Erasure. Putting an E in the triple lane right here. This E is kind of dangerous looking, but if it's your only bingo, you got to go ahead and just hope for the best. So that is, there we go. That's the play. Lukeman getting that news. So he's going to take a short while, I would think, to just look through all these letters. I'm sure Lukeman has spotted Erasure off of O here, but it would be so much better to not open that E, so he's going to look for just a minute through some of the open letters and see if he can find something any better. Reassure. Well, maybe this is Erasure waiting to be formed. I think just the R and E need to be flipped, and he may already have seen it. But dangerous as it is, I think you just got to go for it and hope to not get hit super, super hard. I think Harshan has G'day set on the rack here. Uh-oh. Did we lose a board here? Yeah, potentially. I wonder if internet connection speed, because I feel like I think we might have just lost all of Lukeman, and he's still... Oh, okay. There's our answer to that. So Lukeman playing Erasure, and that is definitely gonna make matters. I think, yeah, so I think it's just Lukeman dropping off the call. So he'll rejoin that in just a second. We'll go back to our camera, our player shots here for a moment. And Harshan, I think, the way he had his tiles arranged, he was getting ready to play G'day, as in G'day, mate. That seemed like what he wanted to play. He can still play that, but I think it's going to be better for him to cover this spot, if at all possible, is my guess. So, I'll just reassure Lukeman that he's all good. Hey, don't worry. Just return to the call. Not sure if he even knows. Maybe he's too locked in on playing the game. But Harshan, Teddy, this seems pretty reasonable. 42 points, blocking the open spot. Definitely feels correct to do this over something like G'day, just to prevent Lukeman from getting a shot to hit that spot. And would you look at that? Diggable. Potentially playing through, and there it's immediately arranged. So we'll just have to see what's going on with Lukeman here. I haven't yet been able to make contact with him, so I don't know if he's just there and locked in playing or what. Anybody on the ground? in the Owolabi household. Oh, he's responding. So he says, "Sorry, I lost internet all of a sudden." No prob. Do you have your... Is your game playable? We'll see what he has to say. But I just feel like if I'm Harshan here, I just feel like there's no way that this A is getting blocked, right? How is this A ever getting blocked? You've got this nice Y to play to. Even double doubles through here are not gonna get in the way. So I feel like my odds of getting a bingo down, of getting my bingo of diggable, are fantastic if I'm Lukeman here. So yeah, we'll see. I'm just letting him know if he wants to continue for a move or two, he can, but that he should rejoin us anytime. What's he saying? All right, I'll just tell him continue on. Diggable, for the record, is on one of my lists of words that are inexplicably not valid in North America. I feel like diggable sounds like, I mean, does it have to do with some sport that's not played in America? I would think it would be just like that, you know. This dirt is quite diggable. So Lukeman's home internet is out. He can still play on his phone with data, so he's just going to play on until his home internet comes back, and he plays anemones. So Harshan's going to get to play diggable. And the problem with that, though, this game is going to get pretty crazy. Diggable gives Harshan an immediate lead, but now the board is just open as heck here. You can just see how open the board is. There's so much stuff that's nerve-wracking here. Keep in mind, not only is this a big spot to play in, but also, like, you can get Q-U-A-R-E. You can get that. You can obviously get big plays here. There's all kinds of stuff going on here. So we don't yet know exactly what Lukeman has, of course, but it just feels like we're going to be seeing some fireworks in a hurry. Oddly, Harshan doesn't really have super good plays here outside of, like, Routh. If this spot were to somehow stay open, Routh scores well, but it keeps a V, whereas he can just play up here, too. He can play Thuya. Look at that. So Harshan's getting 44 points if he's able to spot his good plays. So if Lukeman drew something really bad, this would be a really terrible time to have bad tiles, basically, is what I'm suggesting, because the board is so open and there's so many good scoring opportunities all over the place. So, yeah. So what we'll do is Lukeman's just going to focus on his game. We're going to watch from a somewhat of a Harshan POV, and then probably take a break in between games 3 and 4 to make sure that Lukeman's internet can be revived. So that's the plan. But the more time ticks away, I wonder what that means. Does it mean that Lukeman's... That's Harshan checking his tiles. Does that mean that Lukeman has really bad tiles and is struggling to make a decision he's happy with? Or does he have great tiles and he has so many different options that he's trying to sift through 4 or 5 different options that all score a ton of points? No way to know for now. So, yeah, we'll see. Phil says erasure is one of those I find deceptively tricky. Absolutely. I agree. For whatever reason, it's tough. All right, so Tiz is the play for Lukeman. Torah coming back down. I forgot. Wow, look at that. That's in a totally different spot on the board. That seems really good, and it covers up a scary spot. That being said, it does keep UV, which you could avoid by playing Thuya, but Harshan drawing the Q to save the U in just the nick of time. That is really, really nice timing there for sure. Let me make sure Lukeman's clock goes here. So yeah, Torah. I think it's possible that the response time delay that Lukeman was experiencing, that could have been a harbinger of the internet issue that we're having. I don't feel like I've ever seen such a long delay. So maybe that was the internet slowing down to a crawl. But in any case, back and forth, the players go, trading very heavy bingos and other blows here. So Lukeman with 2 bingos, but Harshan with 1 bingo and 3 40-point plays, whereas Lukeman had to play Weiss for 18 and Oo for 11. So Harshan's still ahead, but very tenuously. It should be noted, though, that after the exchange of Tiz and Torah, all the good scoring options that were available everywhere, it just closed up quite a bit. So the 2 really good spots closed up, and they didn't necessarily make that great of follow-up plays, right? Like, you could easily see a play down here, maybe making it possible to play something good here. I guess a P would make a decent play. But yeah, Tiz was somewhat closed, and Torah also doesn't really give great overlaps back. So it looks like Harshan wanting to play the word Queeth, Queuthe. That definitely stands out from that rack of, I would love to play that word in a productive way, but I don't think you want to play it through the U of erasure. That's just not... Leaving UV is what it would require you to do. So I think he'll probably pivot to something else, as Harshan continuing to get as much information as possible from the unseen tiles. So Lukeman still... Internet died on us here. Try to fix that post-game. So Harshan, this is somewhat of a Harshan POV stream now. He's up by 17. He's got the QU. That's good, but he's got the V, which is going to be annoying. It is worth consideration for Harshan. Is there a good scoring play that leaves me just QU for later? Ideally, you would love to use the V while you're at it. It turns out really the best non-QU play is just they in the upper corner, which looks solid. Lukeman playing toys. Okay, that tells me a lot about maybe why Tiz took him a while. And this is really good for Harshan. Only a 23-point play. It's Harshan getting set to just play Quate, getting the QU off the rack now while he can. Seems reasonable. I think this is an entirely reasonable play. Flip it back to Harshan's timer. Keeping HEV on the rack. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. You could tack your other E on, of course, but the E always a nice tile to keep, especially if you're keeping HV. You want to soften the blow with a little bit of a balanced leave too. And yeah, it's really quate, equate, or they. These are the options here. And I do feel like if I'm going to keep the V, I don't really want to keep QU with it. I want to be able to focus on the V next turn. If you have QUV in your leave, it's going to be hard to know which of those two priorities to focus on. So I like this choice by Harshan ever so slightly. And we continue on. Both blanks are still out. Could easily see a blank bingo come down at some point here. Although board is not great for it, once again. If you're trying to evaluate, if you have a blank, where is it going to go? I mean, a sevens lane here. Maybe you've got P blank. That would maybe be the best case scenario. P blank making psi. Even that opens up the board a little bit. Harshan learning as much as possible from those unseen tiles. Yeah, a lot is going to ride on. I guess I'll start Lukeman's clock, even though we don't really know. Just to kind of gauge where we're at. So we'll wait. Is it going to be a blank bingo? Is it going to be... Well, you know what's kind of weird? Lukeman's last play was toys, suggesting more vowels in reserve. Harshan has 4 vowels. So if Lukeman had more vowels in reserve, looking at the unseen tiles, they're already heavily skewed to consonants. So are we going to see a huge avalanche of consonants coming down towards the end of this game? Maybe. If Lukeman has several vowels on his rack right now, we could easily see consonants avalanche their way in the end of this game. So we shall see. Hopefully he's able to continue playing. It's hard to know. The problem is if he was having an internet issue so severe that he couldn't even use data, how would we know? Not sure. Not sure the answer to that one. But seems like he's still there. I just wonder whether he's getting the next move from Harshan or whether he's having another issue. So we'll try to do our best to answer those questions. Seems like Harshan has VAI lined up. That seems quite nice to just play right here, undoubling the I's, getting rid of the V, leaving the very nice EHIS leave. But yeah, I just feel like for me, both P's and both blanks, this is kind of, the P is already a letter that likes to be the first letter in words where it appears. It's one of the more common opening letters of 7 and 8 letter words. If you look at the full list of 7-letter words, P is towards the top of the list of like most frequent starting letter. So I definitely think we could see that. Ooh, we got Lukeman coming on Zoom, I think. Maybe I'll stop his clock for a second as he's working on that. Okay. Let's see. There we go. He's back. Just asking whether he thinks he might be able to do the screen share that we have going on. Try to make sure I'm not missing any chatting that he's trying to do. Glad that his internet is back. I'm trying to just make sure I'm not missing any communication. I think he's trying to do his screen share. There we go. He is. Give this a go here. See what we get. There we go. Ooh. Check it out. Perfect. Nice work. So to our point here, feel free to play on. Thanks. So this is exactly what we were speculating. A P bingo, right? This is going to be a big deal. It's going to score well. He just has to figure out which bingo he might be able to play there. I'm just trying to get confirmation from him that he's...
Is everything okay, Bill?
Yep. Lukeman lost his computer internet, but I believe he's got it back now and should be ready to rock.
Yeah. Can you see my screen, Will?
Yep. All good. It's perfect. So you can feel free to play on. Yep.
Okay. Apologies, yeah.
No worries. Thank you. Appreciate both of your patience. Okay, muted on the Zoom call here. All right, Peloric. The play from Lukeman. So that's definitely a big swing in the game for sure. And he's done a decent job, too, of making the blank a C. So first of all, putting the letter in the triple lane as a blank is a nice idea. Only thing better, potentially, looks like with those letters, implore, as Lewis notes in the chat. You could play that. It gives some hooks back, but it doesn't put anything in the triple lane, which is kind of nice. So, all right. I think we're all set here. So now the question becomes, for Harshan, do I just go ahead with my original plan, and it looks like maybe we lost Lukeman's board again, and maybe his internet entirely, because I think he's frozen. But for Harshan, are we looking at just playing Vane, or does the play of Peloric change matters at all? Where I want to play something through the C at the bottom of the board. Yeah, as Phil says, I think it's very much worth consideration to play Hive. So, yeah, okay, we lost Lukeman from the call again, sadly. Harshan's still here, so he's still going to be making his moves in normal timing. So yeah, suggestion of Hive, right? That seems pretty good. I guess my worry after this is a play going across here blocking everything, but you can't, I mean, you got to do something. This seems reasonable, and maybe you hit your bingo here. There's definitely good things that can happen. Still plenty of open letters of Peloric. So Harshan definitely making a heavy use of the unseen tiles, as players at this level often do. Ooh. Hain. This is really cool. So the reason for this is, unlike Vane in the same spot, Harshan is setting up an S hook on a board that really doesn't have a great one to begin with. So yeah, he takes a little bit of a penalty in his leave by keeping the V instead of the H, but long term he could be very happy that he has that S hook available potentially. I think that makes a good deal of sense. And I believe we saw Lukeman's rack was up waft. I wonder if he'll try to just play up waft and that to block that spot open, or if he has some other. I think his last letter was an R. But yeah, up waft up here is actually very blocky and gets rid of that spot at a cost, of course, of leaving the whole bottom of the board wide open, which is very scary to do. So another nice thing about up waft is there is a blank still unseen. You're pushing for it. You want to draw it as soon as possible. So yeah. So we'll see. Lukeman's trying to get back on Zoom here. Tough timing to have internet issues, of course. But we'll do our best. It's a shame it was going so well for a while. But I think his seventh letter was an R, if I'm not mistaken. So if he wants to play something like fruit, he could do that. Although I'm not 100% sure if that's the case. If anybody spotted that, let me know what the seventh letter was, and we can try to speculate there. Trying to see doing here. Okay, so yeah, playing Fall, that seems pretty reasonable. Leaves everything open. That's probably a little bit ominous for Harshan to see that everything is still open after this. But yeah, I mean, he can still. Hold on. I should be able to do this at least. Yeah, okay. So we have Harshan still on the call. I'll start his clock. So now if you're Harshan, yes, you're down by 60, but you've got options here. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and potentially play Vibe that scores 39. We'll see what he draws. Lukeman would have left a U after his previous play. He could also have even worse letters than that. So Harshan going to go ahead and play Vibe for 39, and a rough draw for him. He left AGS and he drew Oak and another U. So it's not out of it yet, but that is definitely not the draw he wanted. He somewhat is going to be reliant on Lukeman to have bad tiles. But again, as I said earlier, look at the consonant vowel ratio now. I think we could have predicted this. Also, Harshan's draw, as bad as it looks, he drew 3 vowels and 1 consonant, which is actually kind of sneakily good in a certain way, because it makes Lukeman's odds of having major consonant overload even more likely here. 5 vowels and 15 consonants. He could easily be in serious trouble here. There we go. So yeah, Lukeman's having an internet issue. We'll try not to run his clock while he frantically probably tries to restart his router and all that other sort of thing. But I am definitely interested to see, are we going to see a dump of a whole bunch of consonants? Are we going to see, like, like punt or something here because he just doesn't have any other way of doing something? And then after a play like that, Harshan could potentially just play like Oak or something for another very good score and draw the blank. These are all possible. I mean, we definitely, it looked very grim for Harshan last game too, and he found a way to squeak that one out. So I definitely think Lukeman has a 21-point lead, and whatever he gets on this turn of an advantage, so that's pretty good. But there's definitely still realistic pathways for Harshan here, and we'll see if he's able to once again come up with one. Yeah, addressing the bottom right makes a ton of sense. This eye is definitely open. If you have too many consonants, you can still fit something through that eye, and that is exactly what we see. Uplift for 26 looks great. All those clunky letters. So he had another R too, I think. So uplift, though, definitely you can get hit with an S and all kinds of stuff. And ooh, look at this. This is going to be even better. Even better than other options that Harshan may have had. Kuta for 39, leaving A, G, O, S. The G getting a little extra value from that U out in space, too. Harshan, maybe he's just thinking about, is there any reason for me to play kata or something like that? And the answer is no, I don't think so. And oh, what a draw. What a draw. Look at that draw. Harshan drawing ER blank. An absolute godsend of a draw. That is going to be huge for him. Lukeman is going to be hard pressed. I mean, now the dividends of Harshan's play of Hain earlier are going to be readily apparent, as if you're Harshan, you know for a fact you've got two places to play something ending in S. So big draw there. The pool here, even though Lukeman is on turn, technically, this pool is from Harshan's POV, as those are the tiles that we know. So Lukeman can easily still have a bingo here. He most certainly can. And even if Harshan bingos, Lukeman can make a balancing play, and we could see a very, very similar situation play out to last game. In fact, all right, we're going to see Creme. Creme is the play for Lukeman at the bottom of the board. So this now creates a very tricky situation, although the use of the last E is a huge... So that leaves one in the bag, and now you can really just look into this pool and do a quick analysis and say, what could Lukeman have? And it just doesn't look like he's going to have any sevens. What are you even nervous about in this pool? Not sure. I think Harshan is very likely to be able to just move forward, play his bingo. V-stick, that's interesting. So let's look. Gov and Vane looks like not. I can't imagine both of those getting blocked. And Vum. So you got a bunch of V spots. I guess depending on where you play, right? Like, so you could play... I guess you do have to be careful of where you play. You know what? This is not... Hold on. This is not as obvious. I feel like you got to be a little bit careful of where you play and that you're scoring enough. Because there are certain bingos where if you were to play them, you could get hit pretty hard in response. Right? Is that not true? Maybe you still just win. Because I was thinking like outrages. So if you play outrages, does that get into trouble if you play something to the S? No, because no, it wouldn't. Because then if you're Harshan, you're going out on the next turn, no problem. So I think you just have to pick any reasonable choice here, and you should be fine. Something with the S hook here seems like it'll be good. Um, Lukeman is messaging. We'll figure out what's going on for the next game. Um, so yeah, this is a tricky one. If you're Harshan, just to go through and make sure that you are not losing to a V stick, to make sure that because you're down by a solid number of points here, so you have to worry about, does Lukeman have any potentially really high scoring plays here that could make my life difficult if he has them in the end game. And you not only need to think about that now, you have to think about that for all your bingo options that you're assessing here. You got to make sure that nothing, if you're going to play something here, does that give something big back? So it is somewhat complicated, but actually the news is really good for Harshan because almost every reasonable option is still going to win. Is still going to win for him. Any nines ending in AL? Ooh, that is a really good question. It turns out there aren't. You would think that is a really likely possibility. But nines are tough. Nines are tough. But there is no word like that available. It looks like the highest scoring bingo is actually Botargos, which is funny because we saw a situation earlier where fishing for Botarga, different spelling, 2 T's, might have been reasonable. But yeah, tricky. So the fact that Lukeman cannot really have a bingo threat means that there are a lot of ways that you could go here. Oh, look at that. Harshan playing Botargos here. Very nice. This should get the job done for sure. Impressive. That is a nice play. 76 pointer. That definitely looks like it's going to be enough. He's just thinking about it. What's the worst thing that can happen to me after this? He's going to go up by 40, and he's going to have an O, which means Lukeman has only one vowel. So, yeah, not much that he can do here. He's just going to go ahead. He's going to go ahead, and I don't even know exactly what the best play is. It's probably something like divs in one place or another, and then Harshan's going to go out and win this game. After that happens, Harshan's going to go up 2-0, and I guess we're just going to assess what's going on with Lukeman's internet. He's already suggesting that he's not comfortable playing the match without our full setup of compliance of the ability to see him, to see his phone screen, that's what I have in my command center here, if you're wondering. If his internet is an issue, we may call the match early in Lukeman's favor if we can't continue, because Harshan would be up 2-1. It is 1-1 now. This is game 3. So Harshan is on the cusp of winning the third game of the match. Of course, we were going to try to play that best of 5 out to the fullest, but Lukeman is having an internet issue right now and is seemingly comfortable with ending the match if he cannot get back up and running. So let's see. Let's hope. We want to give him a chance to fight back in this match and win 2 games and do the impossible. It's actually not that impossible. Winning 2 games in a row for somebody like Lukeman, who is a top whatever player in the world, top 50. He could definitely do that against anyone. So, yeah, not much for him to think through in this end game. He's probably just looking, using up time. Hopefully, he's seeing the move. But we shall see. So yeah, Harshan on the cusp of going up 2-1. We are definitely going to try to play as much of the match as we can, but we'll figure out what's going on once this game completes. It does seem like Lukeman is able to at least be getting enough data to play things out on his phone, but it's going to be another great comeback for Harshan, who is known for that sort of thing, without question. Very resourceful player. Very attuned to tiny little nuances and details between plays. Really fun player to watch. And if that means that we got Harshan versus Brian Poe match on next Monday, then that's going to be a treat for all involved. Ooh, okay. Getting back potentially the board link from Lukeman. Let's give this a shot. And hope for the best here. Ooh, what'd I do here? I messed up the timer. All right, that's fine. It's no big deal. Yeah, there we go. Um, okay, looks like we got Lukeman's board. Set this to whatever. 2 minutes per player. 3 minutes. We know the timer is not actually 20. Um, all right, there we go. So suggested play of divs is what we're going to see. Divs here, maybe a couple extra, but it's all good. Harshan going to plop that O down. And we are at the end of game 3. So another nice win for Harshan. Going up 2-1. And all right, let's take the quickest little break to huddle up and see what Lukeman wants to do, as he's having some internet issues right now with Harshan going up 2-1. We'll just cut to a little break here, everybody. All right. Very good. So we're going to give this thing a whirl with the players are back. Lukeman is back. And I'm going to mute on Zoom. And Lukeman's going to go ahead and start this game. And we're going to do our best. I'm going to give Harshan his star as well, because he's now up 2-1. Lukeman did basically suggest that if he continues to have issues with his internet dropping, that it's regrettable, but he's not comfortable playing without the proper compliance of letting me be able to see everything. And he is comfortable taking a forfeit loss. We definitely do not want that to happen, of course. But if that's what ends up happening, he'll live with that. So let's see how things go. Lukeman starting with D Wax. Looks like a great play. I think he left MX, which definitely looks correct. Both of these players are vertical openers, which is kind of fun. I guess I got to get the... It's so strange that the score positioning is always slightly off. I don't understand that. Why is it not in the same place every time? Can't find it. Really bizarre. Oh, maybe, I don't think Harshan's moving anything on his computer. I don't think that's it. All right, there we go. Or maybe he is. But, all right, hold on. We got this. Lukeman with 40. Oops. There. Okay, this should be good for now. Start Harshan's clock. Okay. So Harshan with the first blank. He is going to play Covalent. That is one of his 2 double doubles. It's going to hit really hard through that A. Nicely spotted. Bingo for him. 90 points. We should popularize the Tetris of like, boom, bingo for whatever. Boom, bingo for Harshan. Steal that directly from them. Or not. But yeah, Covalent, nicely spotted. Another play been pointed out. Volantes, which is also a solid option. I guess if you want to avoid putting an S out in space, this play does that for you. Sometimes placing an S on the board can be the difference between your opponent having a bingo and not. So this does seem like a reasonable choice. And let me fix this while we're at it here too. There we go. So Lukeman getting set to play Fiat. This looks definitely like a great, great option for him. Undoubling his A's and T's and scoring quite well. That seems quite reasonable. And it doesn't prevent Harshan from potentially playing through... hold on, I got to set. He's looking at it. Oh, he pulled it back. And he might be getting set to play something else. I already assumed that he was going to commit that play. But it doesn't prevent Harshan from playing through this T. But what it does do is force him to keep both eyes, right? So when Fiat hits the board, Harshan wants to play quite through this T. But in fact, he can still play quate, which we just saw him play. It would be the second game... It would be the second game in a row where we're going to see the word quate be played. But this version is going to leave Harshan with 2 eyes, which he definitely would prefer not to have kept. So I do think he's going to pivot relatively quickly just because that this play of Q-U-A-T-E is going to score 48 points. It's so much better than anything else you can get. But, yeah, see if those eyes start to become a problem. Suggestion of maybe Fava. That's actually pretty reasonable. The big fly in the ointment of this play, for Lukeman's perspective, would have been keeping two eyes on the rat. Or no, it wouldn't have. It would have left TI. And what does it leave? As Harshan going ahead and playing Quate as we expected. Fava would have left MITT and would have scored a lot of points too. So it's definitely a reasonable alternative. But I do like the rack balance of Fiat too. So interesting plays for both players. Let me just make sure Lukeman's getting that play in. He is. We can start his clock. Interesting, after Quate, the Q is right there just begging to get used to the triple, and Harshan is really close to having Niqab with two A's going across here. Niqab would be fantastic to play, but not quite. Doesn't quite have that. So Lukeman getting set to play Pram, which looks very standard here. You can play it on either side of D-Wax, and not really sure I have a strong preference for where to play that. So back over to Harshan with a Z that he was surely hoping to play here, but now that spot gets blocked. Oh man, check this out. Does he have the stones to play zombie here? Oh man, that is a very risky play. Of course, it does a lot of nice things to balance your rack, but creating a gigantic E hook there with many, many E's still to come, I think that's too much, too risky for most of us. And Harshan seems to be pivoting away for that same reason. This would be one hell of a read if he plays zombie here. But even then, Lukeman can just play something hooking an S, even if he doesn't have the E. So, wow, he's going to go for it. This seems very, very risky. Definitely risky. Your opponent has an E, but Lukeman does not have one. So this is going to work out great for Harshan, almost forcing Lukeman to burn his S here, which he probably doesn't want to use. Or, no, he can now play striping. So this is a weird conclusion here to this sequence. Normally you would expect big plays hooking an E to be the big threat, but actually it's this I out in space that's going to let Lukeman play a bingo. And also another really intriguing option would just be de-waxing. So there's a lot that can happen here. Do you play de-waxing and try to draw into another play here? Oh, hold on. Yes, Lukeman is thinking about that exact possibility. Play de-waxing, take the sting out of this hook, or do you just go ahead and bingo now? He clearly sees now that he can bingo. So de-waxing for 60, leaving PRST. That is a strong leave, except it's very risky. It's very polarized. 4 consonants that are very synergistic for bingos. If you draw vowels, you're going to bingo a ton of the time. But you also have a significant downside risk if you draw only consonants. So striping looks like what Lukeman's going to play. So this is definitely not what Harshan may expect here, is that zombie getting hit with just a bingo through the I instead of the E hook. But now we got ourselves a game again. Striping for 72. Lukeman Not the best draw, but Harshan with arguably an even worse draw. Low point tiles that just don't do anything. These tiles are terrible to play in this spot and even to the S. You don't even have a long play into the S of striping or through the S of striping. It's actually extremely brutal. You just can't do anything. So we got ourselves a very close game again. I feel like in both matches we have been very lucky with the caliber of games we've received. Almost no blowouts at all. I could say there is no manipulation being done to ensure that. We're just getting lucky. There are going to be some blowouts if we keep at it and show more matches like this at some point. So, yeah, I mean, Harshan coming around to the idea that maybe he's just got to play Lint, and that is exactly what he's going to do. He plays Lint. We'll see when it appears on Lukeman's screen here. But oddly, Lukeman has kind of a similar situation going on where this S is going to be difficult for him to use. So both players probably thinking, oh my God, my opponent is just going to hammer this open spot, but it's going to sit open a little longer than you probably would expect. There we go. Lint hitting the board. Start Lukeman's clock here. So what to do here? What do you even do to address any of this? Do you just play Oven? That feels kind of crazy. That even sets up a nice scoring spot. But on this board, maybe that's like very low priority compared to this open S. So he has Oven lined up. Do you play Vendor? Something like that. How do you even play your J is the big question. Do you play Yodel and Equate? Is that the idea? I don't know. These are tough. Very tough moves. Harshan clearly wanting to play Raglan's to this S and just diffuse that threat now while he can still do so and draw into some of the goodies that are still remaining. It's clearly what he wants to do, and it feels like he is going to get that chance. I just don't see how Lukeman can obstruct that open S. Very surprising. Very surprising. An S in that spot is just going to be like a red alert. Have to cover that up at all costs if you have a reasonable play there. A suggestion from Eric of Devin and Chin. That would be really funny. Setting up the S you don't have. So Lukeman going to play Jin here. So sacrificing a fair number of points to keep a little bit of better balance. And Harshan is going to waste no time. He's probably absolutely thrilled to get a chance to play that word. Actually, he has, if he wanted to, and tag like coming down. I would say that there was one other option there, surprisingly enough. Lalangs. If Harshan had wanted to keep the R, he could have done so and played Lalangs in that same spot, which is a very odd-looking word for sure. But in a vacuum, you would think the R is a little bit better than the L. But here, all things being equal, I know it's not a healthy attitude to be sort of thinking like that and say, keep your letters the same except for one tweak. But in this situation, it's not clear that Harshan would be able to bingo had he played Lalangs, whereas now he is playing tag like almost for sure. I don't really see how it would be possible for Lukeman to block tag like here. And that's going to be a big, big swing in Harshan's favor for sure. So, yeah. Sometimes that's how Scrabble goes. No pun intended. Scrabble goes. This is actually not Scrabble Go. Because of all the tech stuff going on, I haven't really done any actual promo for this app, but this is a new app. It's not Scrabble Go. It's just called Scrabble. We're playing the ABSP Masters Melee on this app, and we hope that the tournament community, among other communities, really enjoy it. It's a more sort of basic, purist take on Scrabble. Just no bells and whistles or frills. Just Scrabble and a few other things, including puzzles every day from me. In 2 hours, there will be a new puzzle every single day. I've done something like 570 or 80 of them at this point. So at some point, when we have access to the full archive, you're going to be able to play hundreds and hundreds of puzzles that I made to be extra fun. If you're a premium member, where you would also get no ads, unlimited game review, access to 20 bots whose strategies I designed. So we're hopeful that people like it. All right, there we go. Oven for 30. This seems as reasonable as anything. This gets rid of the V. You could play oboe in the same spot, keeping the V. Not sure. I mean, this at least makes a nice spot for your B to go across. Oboe sets up really nothing for yourself, right? If you just imagine it on the board here, it sets up a big scoring spot for which you have no good tiles to use. So it looks like Lukeman is waffling between some of these plays. When are they going to update the dictionaries for the website? PlayScrabble.com isn't updated? Should be up to date, Frank. If you have any examples of words that you think should be valid but are not, that would help us to understand why they're not updated, but I can definitely let our team know if there's an issue. But I think it's up to date. So Lukeman agonizing over the different plays, but none of those plays are going to affect Harshan's ideal next move. He's going to be playing tag-like almost no matter what. I can't see how Lukeman's going to play over there. It doesn't make sense for him to play over there. Yes, Scrabblegrams. Yes, that's another thing that we do. Ooh, okay. Lukeman pivoting potentially to a different play. Novel. Maybe trying to draw an S and set up a little bit of a better S hook for himself. Not sure. That is going to be the play from him. Leaving the bottom of the board open, and Harshan is going to waste no time whatsoever. No time wasted, nor is there any reason for him to. This is his best bingo. Only other bingos are in similar spots on the board. So tag-like for him, and a blank draw as well. So let's just see, when is Lukeman going to get that bad news that he's been bingoed on. Word Summit, that's what I was referring to, Miguel. I am the maker of Word Summit. I do them by hand every week, and I've done almost 600 of them to this point, and I really enjoy it. It's fun. I enjoy making those. The answers are always the same in both English lexicons, and they are always common words. So those are my rules. All right, there we go. Lukeman getting the news that tag-like is coming down here for a very good score. And that's going to be tough, especially with this other blank draw. Oh, Guideway. Oh my gosh. Harshan has Guideway. These terrible tiles. UW blank. Guideway is a playable word with what looks like super bad letters. So yeah, tough one for Lukeman here. Very tough. Suey and Zombies suggested by Phil. Wow, that hits really hard. leaving AB, which, whatever, for 50-something points, you're going to want to go ahead with that. But yeah, Harshan's got a potential bingo that could be the nail in the coffin of this match if he sees it, and I think Harshan being Harshan, there is a great chance that he will. No evidence of him seeing it yet, at least. It looks like he's considering some other stuff. So, we'll see. Lukeman's having a thought here. What to do. He has very, very big scoring play right here. But it's possible he may not even consider it because he's so locked in on bingoing that he would not want to use his S here. But he has to open up his mind to the idea that using the S is really important. It gets you so many points. It gets you close on the scoreboard again. So I think if you told him there is a play like that, he would probably find it. Oh, IA. Yeah. Oh, he's trying for Boosie. He's going for that spot. If there was a playable word in that spot, it would be fantastic, scoring so well with the Kai hook, but doesn't feel like there is one. So yeah, another option, if you don't see Sui, which is a little bit trickier, well, Yob is a pretty solid option too. It scores almost 40 points, leaves that S. However, this is from Lukeman's perspective. 20 vowels to 16 consonants, and he's leaving 3 vowels here. He could get a crippling draw for sure after this play. If he were to draw 3 vowels, let's see what happens. He could also draw okay. Ooh, he drew well. He drew pretty well. Oh. Okay. So, nice play here by Harshan, but potentially, am I hallucinating guideway? I think that's a word, right? So he plays Wade, leaving you blank. No, okay, so this is a really good play, just to be clear. Guideway for a really good score, leaving you blank. That's not a huge miss by any means, but he did have the playable bingo of Guideway off of the G of tag-like. So rare bingo miss. Neither player is apt to do that too often. But 43 points leaving the blank is still going to give Harshan a great shot to win this game, especially because Lukeman does not have a playable bingo right now. There we go. There's Wade. Dwayne Wade, exactly. Josh, nice to see you. So yeah, tough situation here for Lukeman, down 80 plus with no playable bingo. Harshan having spotted Orifies off of this A, which is certainly going to be very, very difficult to sustain if you're Lukeman here. So it looks like Harshan is right on the cusp, and man, it was looking grim. Lukeman won the first game, and then he was up big and had an 80-point bingo to go up by over 100 in game 2, emptying the bag, but Harshan bingoed out to win that game by 3 points, just 3, and now is on the cusp of winning 2 more in a row. So it seemed like Lukeman was this close. He was 3 points away from going up 2-0. But Harshan is just tough. He's tough to put away in these games and in these matches. So we'll see. We'll see what Lukeman elects to do. He still has good tiles. Again, this is very similar. He had a rack just like this in one of those other games where he had, CH, S, E, and other similar tiles. But yeah, I just feel like playing something like Yo is so natural here. Yo or Oi here. One of those is just really normal, and none of those are going to be stopping Orifies here. So yeah, we'll see what he elects to do. But he's got a at least Harshan has a good chance to draw a ton of vowels. That's the only real saving grace here, is if he just draws like I, O, 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 E, and gives Lukeman a shot to bingo twice in short order. I guess that is theoretically possible. It's possible. Not very likely, though. So Lukeman grinding, knowing that his match is on the line here. He's got to find a way to come up with a winning pathway from a tough situation here. Do I have the wrong... Oh, never mind. I had the wrong board view. So he's going to play Hey. Oh, wow. That's surprising. So this is a reasonable option. It is a little blocky, but he's trying to get in the way of some of the open spots and just score well. But does that... Yeah, that leaves Harshan homeless to bingo. That's surprising. What are my thoughts on New York Times Crossplay app? I have some thoughts. I've been playing it a little bit. I would say that there are a lot of things about it that are really nice. I think this app is going to be much like that, except it's going to be real Scrabble. So, in some ways, I feel like any differences that Crossplay has from, the existing Scrabble apps, I can appreciate why that's a little bit better for the look and feel that it has. But this app is going to be just like that, but be real Scrabble. So... yeah, so that's basically as my thought about it, but it is a nicely designed app. There are a few things that I might change about it, but yeah, I'm always looking to look on the bright side, and I think more people playing a Scrabble type game for the first time, which Crossplay is clearly going to do, is definitely a good thing. So it is a good thing. I ran Lukeman's clock way too long. So I'm going to not run it the next couple times because he got hit way too hard for me not paying attention. Which I'm going to just let him know. Yeah, I'm letting him know that. Okay. So, sorry. Got to see what Harshan's thinking about. He's going to play Fooey. That's a great play. So, this is a really nice play. But, crazily enough, as some of you are pointing out in the chat, Lukeman actually has a bingo here, which is insane. Geocodes off of this G. Now, is that actually going to help him here? As Harshan has a really, really good chance of playing a bingo in response to this. Certainly something with novels. At the very least, he has ecuries, if not better, somewhere. So he'll have a bingo. But is it possible? Is it crazy enough? Let me hit it back so not run Harshan. So we're going to give Lukeman a couple extra minutes because I forgot to hit his clock back to Harshan. That's on me. But also we don't know yet if he's even seeing this play. Okay, there it is. Ooh. So Lukeman quickly playing Coop. Missed opportunity there. That is a missed opportunity. Still a solid play if you don't see geocodes. But yeah, that is a missed opportunity. He had a chance to get a bingo down and draw. Who knows what he could draw from the bag. If he drew something amazing out of the bag, he would be in great shape right now. But Harshan now is going to be able to know that he can play anything with novels. Queries would be really nice, right? Queries right here. The Q is basically a non-threat in the top board. top of the board, top row, I should say. It's hard to parallel it with an I, and it doesn't even matter if you do because it's a blank Q. It's not a real Q. So the parallels are just not threatening. So queries looks great if you're Harshan here, for sure. So we'll see if he's able to come up with that, but he's already up by 45, 46, and he's going to be up by even more after playing a bingo at the top of the board, which he is very, very likely to do. I definitely think queries, like, you could play equeries here too, but that is not advisable. Putting an E in this lane is really, really bad at this score because you can get hit with triple triples that instantly give your advantage back. So very, very big difference between the words that you choose to play here. Yeah, both did miss something from the G. I would say that Harshan's miss of Wade was not that damaging, but Coop is the second best play, for sure, to geocodes, but it is by far the second best play worse. That was very poorly said by me. I do speak English natively, contrary to what you might think from listening to me talk. But yeah, tough one. So Harshan has to be seeing his bingos here, but I think he's just making 1,000,000% sure that he's finding the very best one that doesn't give anything dangerous back. Queries, if he thinks of it, is just like chef's kiss, right? I mean, I guess if you look at it on the board, I forgot that I have this view. I forgot I could have been doing this the whole time. So there is an E and an R. These are definitely good lines to hit, but if you do that, you're going up by so much, going up by over 100. If Lukeman hits those lines, you're still going first in an endgame with a decent lead. You know, you're going up by. If Lukeman hits those plays, you're still up by likely a minimum of 15 points going into the endgame. So Harshan, ample time to think this through. There potentially comes. Oh, it looks like he's thinking about playing Garites off of the G, which could be reasonable. Yeah, he's going to go with that. This gives, compared to queries, this gives very little back in terms of 8-letter floaters. The E and the R, kind of tough to play through those. And, oh, I don't know. It looks kind of like queries might be deceptively better to defend against bingos than this, right? Because you're blocking the novels hook while you play it. So if you play queries here, you block novels. This still gives sevens back and doesn't block novels. However, this is a real hair-splitting thing. Of course, at Harshan's level, he's going to be thinking about every last nuance that he possibly can. But yeah, here, let me stop this. Let's see when Lukeman gets this news. But yeah, look at that score, 433 to 319. Harshan is in really, really good shape. There's only a handful of letters left in the bag here. It's looking like the match is headed towards Harshan here. I can't really see what the pathway is to come back. Lukeman's going to need some kind of a gargantuan bingo here. And there we go. There's the bad news for Lukeman, getting hit with that bingo. And yeah, what are you supposed to do? Oh, you know what? Lukeman's going to go ahead and play Eke. I think that's reasonable, but I think, yeah, reasonable play. I think the best play for Lukeman is, as he draws sheared and heaters, so he has a bingo now. He's going to be able to play heaters here, but I actually think Harshan can just make a play that doesn't empty the bag, and that bingo still won't score enough. I think Lukeman's play here was actually, sorry, not S. I think he should have played Creeds. Creeds. Just to force Harshan to block the S hook on it. If he somehow can't do that, or can't productively do that, I guess just playing something through the E would do that, but I don't know. Maybe there's some hope for you if you play Creeds and draw the final S, because it's just so many points more than what you got for Eke. You're getting 11 more points, which could actually matter. Maybe it's too easy to block, and Harshan actually has the S in hand already, so it doesn't matter. It's a moot point. But coming up with those winning pathways at the end of these games, even if they're just like a fraction of 1%, I feel like that's actually fun. I don't know. Am I a sicko? Am I a sicko for saying this? But I feel like being in those hopeless, not quite hopeless scenarios where there's like a shred of 1% chance where you might be able to come up with a win, that's actually kind of fun. Or do all of you out there just like drawing bingos and beating the bejesus out of your opponents? Is it my dysfunction? What do y'all think about that? As Harshan gets set to just play ooh for 13, just trying to balance his rack, leaving one tile in the bag, so any bingo that Lukeman is going to have is going to be met with a full endgame rack, and I just don't think either, oddly, feels like, oh, look at that. Outrates, doesn't quite fit. Sea Trout fits. I don't think after, oh, hold on, we got to go to Lukeman's view. Oh, Sea Trout does not anymore fit through outstart. Is Harshan going to have a bingo? It doesn't matter. Sorry, I didn't hit the clock. It doesn't really matter, because even if Harshan does not have a playable bingo, he is going to be just fine in this end game, despite what feels like a heavy blow there for Lukeman. So, yeah, heaters for 85, getting that game close, but just the lone eye. Harshan with very, very good tiles here. He can play parallel up here. Attar. Big kudos to Harshan if he spots Attar here. That is a great, great play to finish this off. If he sees it, knowing him, there's a great chance at it. But, yeah, this is going to be Harshan's match. And, Harshan and Brian, both of those two were the divisional winners in the group phase here. I'll just quickly, as Harshan thinks of his play, we cut back and see how all that went down. There's our group 1 and 2. Harshan and Brian winning their group, and they are going to be playing in the finals at this rate on Monday. So very excited about that. It's going to be a great match. Commiserations to Lukeman, who also played very, very well in this match and dealt with a lot of tech stuff. And there we go. Attar for 43. Great play. That's just the Harshan factor there. He's not going to miss stuff like that. And down it goes. And back over to Lukeman, who is just down by too much, and he's just got a lone eye here to work with. Finals is on Monday. Next Monday. I don't remember which day that is, but I'll put up the event on the ABSP channel. It's Monday the 30th. And I think it's going to be 7 p.m. or no. Yeah, it's either going to be 7 or 8 p.m. UK time. I'll work on that with the players when they want to get started. Appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you very much for being here, bearing with us through some tech difficulties, but it is a lot of fun. I love watching high-level matches between players like this, and hopefully everybody out there does too. And there we have it. There's the final play there, as we can just give Harshan his 3rd star. Oh, we gave him a 4-star, almost there. But I'm going to unmute myself on the Zoom call now and just quickly let Harshan and or Lukeman exchange a couple thoughts about an amazing match. Really, really fun to watch the two of you play. Sorry for the tech difficulties, Lukeman, that you had there, but it seemed to resolve. But yeah, Harshan, congratulations. You are advancing after a 3-1 win.
Thank you very much, and thank you for arranging this match.
Lukeman, sorry to be on the wrong end. Man, that game 2 was crazy. You were 3 points away from going up 2 games to none, and Harshan he needs so little to wriggle out of a loss and find his way to a win. That was a tough one, but other than that, you played really well. How are you feeling right now? Oop, you're muted. I'm sorry. I might have done that.
I think I muted myself. Yeah. Congratulations, Ashan, So I mean, I just couldn't think of, I played too fast, I just didn't think of the anagram of 90s. That could have made a difference in that game, but other than that, I think I played really well. I mean, I just lost to a better player.
That's how it goes when watching 2 great players compete. So, all right, with that, we're going to finish off the stream here, and just a final thank you to both of you. And we're going to see Harshan and Brian Poe go at it next Monday, the 30th. That's going to be super exciting. So for everybody out there, make sure to tune into that. It is going to be a fantastic match. So with that, we'll call it a stream. Thanks, everybody. See you next Monday.
Thank you.